What if just 1 hour a day could completely change your future? Meet Tyler Morgan, an ordinary student from Cedar Grove. His grades were average, his motivation was low, and most of his time disappeared into video games and social media. Like many students, Tyler dreamed of success, but dreams alone weren't changing anything. Then one day, after receiving disappointing exam results, he made a simple decision. Study for just 1 focused hour every day. Not 5 hours, not 10 hours, just 1 hour. At first, it was difficult. His friends wanted to hang out. He felt tired. Sometimes he wanted to quit, but Tyler kept showing up, day after day, week after week, month after month. That 1 hour turned into better grades, better habits, more confidence, scholarships, university acceptance letters, and eventually, the future he had always dreamed about. His secret wasn't talent. It wasn't luck. It was consistency. Remember, small daily actions create massive long-term results. Comment below, if you could improve 1 skill this year, what would it be? Like this video if you believe consistency beats talent. Subscribe for more English stories, listening practice, motivational journeys, and life-changing success stories. Your future can change, 1 hour at a time. Up Chapter 1, The Average Student. In the suburban town of Cedar Grove, Washington, 17-year-old Tyler Morgan lived a life that felt completely ordinary. He attended Roosevelt High School, where he blended in with most of the students. Tyler wasn't known for outstanding grades, athletic achievements, or special talents. He was simply average. Every morning he rushed to school, attended classes, and returned home without much excitement. His report cards were filled with mostly average marks. He passed his exams, but rarely scored high enough to stand out. Teachers often told him that he was capable of doing much better, but Tyler never took those comments seriously. After school, he spent hours playing video games, watching videos online, and scrolling through social media. Homework was usually completed at the last minute, and sometimes not at all. While some of his classmates talked about scholarships, universities, and future careers, Tyler preferred not to think too much about the future. Still, deep inside, he had dreams. He imagined attending a prestigious university, building a successful career, and giving his family a better life. Whenever he saw successful entrepreneurs, engineers, or business leaders, he wondered what it would feel like to achieve something meaningful. The problem was that dreams were easy. Taking action was hard. At 17, Tyler had no idea that a simple 1-hour habit was about to transform his future in ways he could never have imagined. Chapter 2, A Harsh Reality Check. A few weeks into the new school year, Tyler received the results of his midterm exams. As he walked through the halls of Roosevelt High School, he wasn't particularly worried. He expected his grades to be average, just like they always were. When he finally opened the report, his confidence disappeared. His math score was far below what he had hoped. His science grade had dropped. Even subjects he usually managed to pass comfortably were slipping. Tyler stared at the paper in disbelief. He knew he hadn't studied much, but seeing the results in front of him felt different. For the first time, he couldn't ignore the consequences of his habits. That afternoon, his teacher, Mr. Reynolds, asked him to stay after class. Tyler expected a lecture. Instead, Mr. Reynolds spoke calmly. "Tyler, do you know what disappoints me?" Tyler looked down. "My grades?" Mr. Reynolds shook his head. "No. What disappoints me is that you're capable of much more than this." The words caught Tyler by surprise. His teacher continued. "You have potential, but potential means nothing without effort. Every year I see students with average talent achieve incredible success because they're willing to work consistently." Tyler listened quietly. Then Mr. Reynolds asked a question he couldn't stop thinking about. "Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?" Tyler didn't have an answer. He had spent years dreaming about success, but had never created a plan to reach it. That evening, he sat alone in his room, staring at his report card. For the first time, he imagined what his future might look like if nothing changed. The thought was uncomfortable. He realized that his current habits were leading him exactly where he was headed, and if he wanted a different future, he would need different habits. That realization felt like a wake-up call. For the first time in his life, Tyler wasn't blaming his teachers, his schedule, or bad luck. He was forced to face the truth. The biggest obstacle standing between him and his dreams wasn't a lack of intelligence. It was a lack of discipline. As he placed the report card on his desk, Tyler made a decision. He didn't know exactly how he would improve, but he knew one thing for certain: something had to change. And very soon, he would discover a simple idea that would completely transform the direction of his life. Chapter 3: The 1-Hour Decision. For the next few days, Tyler couldn't stop thinking about what Mr. Reynolds had said. Potential means nothing without effort. The words echoed in his mind during class, at lunch, and even when he was playing video games. For the first time, he began paying attention to the habits of successful people. He watched interviews with entrepreneurs, athletes, and top students. Although their careers were different, they all seemed to share one thing in common: consistency. They didn't rely on motivation alone. They showed up every day and did the work. One evening, while watching a video about successful habits, Tyler heard a quote that caught his attention. Open quote: "Small daily improvements lead to extraordinary results." Close quote. The idea seemed almost too simple. Most people look for dramatic changes. But what if success came from small actions repeated every day? That night, Tyler sat at his desk with a notebook. He knew that trying to study for 5 or 6 hours a day would never work. He wasn't used to that kind of schedule. If he made his goal too big, he would probably quit after a few days. So he created a different plan, a simple plan, a realistic plan. He would study for 1 focused hour every day, just 1 hour. No excuses, no skipping. No matter how busy or tired he felt, 1 hour dedicated entirely to improving himself. The goal seemed manageable. Anyone could find 1 hour. The next morning, Tyler wrote his new commitment on a piece of paper. Open quote: "1 hour a day can change my future." Close quote. He taped it above his desk where he could see it every day. That afternoon, he completed his first study session. The hour felt longer than expected. He became distracted several times. He checked his phone, looked out the window, thought about quitting, but he finished. When the timer reached 60 minutes, he felt surprisingly proud. It wasn't a huge achievement, but it was a start. The next day, he did it again, and the day after that. Soon, Tyler began building a streak. 3 days, 5 days, 10 days. For the first time, he wasn't relying on motivation. He was building a habit. And although he couldn't see it yet, that single hour was quietly changing the course of his future. The real challenge, however, was just beginning. Because staying consistent would prove much harder than making the decision in the first place. Chapter 4: The Struggle to Stay Consistent. The first 2 weeks of Tyler's new study habit went surprisingly well. Every afternoon, he sat at his desk, set a timer for 1 hour, and focused on his schoolwork. Some days he studied math, other days he reviewed science, history, or English. At first, the progress felt exciting, but as the days passed, the excitement began to fade. That's when the real challenge appeared. One Friday afternoon, his friends invited him to play online games. "Come on, Tyler," his friend Mason said. "You can study tomorrow." The offer was tempting. After all, missing 1 day didn't seem like a big deal. Tyler stared at his desk. Then he looked at the note above it. Open quote: "1 hour a day can change my future." Close quote. Reluctantly, he told his friends he would join them later. First, he completed his study hour. The decision felt small, but it was important. Over the next few weeks, similar situations happened again and again. Some days he felt tired after school. Some days he wasn't in the mood to study. Other days he convinced himself that skipping just once wouldn't matter. But Tyler began to understand something powerful. Successful people don't work only when they feel motivated. They work even when they don't feel like it. That lesson changed his mindset. Instead of asking himself, "Do I feel like studying today?" he started asking, "What's my commitment?" And the answer was always the same: 1 hour. No excuses. Still, there were difficult days. One evening, after a long and stressful day at school, Tyler sat at his desk completely exhausted. He couldn't focus. Nothing seemed to make sense. After 20 minutes, he wanted to quit. But instead of giving up, he took a short break, drank a glass of water, and returned to his books. He finished the hour. It wasn't his best study session, but he kept the habit alive. And that mattered. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, studying became less of a struggle. What once felt like hard work was starting to feel normal. His 1 hour study session became part of his daily routine, just like brushing his teeth or eating dinner. Without realizing it, Tyler was developing something far more valuable than knowledge. he was developing discipline, and discipline would soon begin producing results. One morning, while reviewing a recent test, Tyler noticed something surprising. For the first time in years, his scores were improving. The changes were small, but they were real. And those small improvements were about to give him the confidence he had been missing all along. Now, Chapter 5, Small Improvements. Begin. 3 months after starting his 1-hour study habit, Tyler began noticing changes. At first, they were almost invisible. A few extra points on a quiz, a homework assignment completed more easily, a lesson that suddenly made sense. But over time, those small improvements started adding up. One morning in math class, Tyler solved a difficult problem before most of his classmates. When Mr. Reynolds checked the answers, Tyler's solution was correct. For a moment, he thought it was just luck. But similar things kept happening. Concepts that once seemed confusing were becoming easier to understand. Subjects he used to avoid no longer felt intimidating. The more he studied, the more confident he became. His teachers noticed the difference too. During class discussions, Tyler started raising his hand more often. Instead of sitting quietly and hoping not to be called on, he actively participated. The change surprised everyone, including Tyler. One afternoon, his science teacher handed back a test. Tyler looked at the grade and blinked. 92%. He checked it again to make sure he wasn't imagining things. It was one of the highest scores he had ever received. A huge smile spread across his face. For years, he had believed that top students were simply smarter than him. Now he was beginning to realize something important. Success wasn't always about talent. Often, it was about preparation. That evening, Tyler showed the test to his parents. His mother smiled proudly. His father patted him on the shoulder. "We're proud of you," he said. The words meant more than Tyler expected. For the first time, he felt like his hard work was paying off, not only in grades, but in confidence. The student who once doubted himself was starting to believe in his potential. And the best part? He wasn't studying all day. He wasn't sacrificing every minute of free time. He was simply staying consistent with one focused hour each day. As the months passed, his grades continued to improve. His confidence continued to grow, and opportunities that once seemed impossible began moving within reach. What Tyler didn't know was that a major test was coming soon. A test that would challenge everything he had learned, and if he succeeded, it could open doors to a future he had only dreamed about. Chapter 6, Building Powerful Habits. By the middle of the school year, Tyler's 1-hour study routine had become a natural part of his life. What once felt difficult now felt automatic. Every day after school, he would put his phone away, sit at his desk and focus for 1 hour. There was no debate, no procrastination, no excuses. It had simply become a habit. But something interesting started happening. The discipline Tyler developed through studying began affecting other areas of his life. He started waking up earlier. He became more organized. His assignments were completed on time. His room stayed cleaner. Even his stress levels began to decrease because he was no longer rushing to finish work at the last minute. For the first time, Tyler felt in control of his time instead of constantly feeling behind. One afternoon, while reviewing his planner, he noticed how much more productive he had become. Months earlier, he had spent hours scrolling through social media without realizing it. Now, he used his time more intentionally. That didn't mean he stopped having fun. He still played video games. He still spent time with friends. But he had learned something important. Entertainment was more enjoyable when it came after responsibility. As his habits improved, so did his confidence. Teachers trusted him with more responsibilities. Classmates began asking him for help with assignments. Some even wanted to know how he had improved so much. When they asked for his secret, Tyler always gave the same answer. "It's not a secret," he said. "I just study for 1 hour every day." Most people were surprised. They expected some complicated strategy. But Tyler had discovered a powerful truth. Small actions become powerful when repeated consistently. As the weeks passed, he continued building momentum. Then one day, an announcement echoed through the school. A major statewide academic exam was approaching. The results could influence scholarships, university opportunities, and future career paths. For many students, it was one of the most important tests they would ever take. As Tyler listened, he felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. This would be the biggest academic challenge of his life. And soon, he would discover whether his 1-hour habit was truly strong enough to carry him to the next level. Chapter 7. The first major success. The statewide academic exam was only 6 weeks away. Every student at Roosevelt High School seemed to be talking about it. Some were nervous, some were confident, others tried not to think about it at all. For Tyler, the exam felt different. This wasn't just another test. It was an opportunity to see how far he had come. For months, he had studied consistently for 1 hour every day. Now it was time to put that effort to the test. Instead of panicking, Tyler stuck to his routine. While many students tried to cram for hours at a time, he continued following the habit that had brought him this far. 1 focused hour, every single day. He reviewed notes, solved practice questions, worked through difficult concepts, and whenever he encountered something he didn't understand, he kept working until it made sense. As exam day approached, he felt nervous but prepared. That feeling alone was new. In the past, he had often walked into tests hoping for good luck. This time, he was relying on preparation. Finally, the day arrived. The school gymnasium was filled with rows of desks. Students sat quietly waiting for the exam to begin. Tyler took a deep breath as the papers were handed out. For a moment, he felt the familiar wave of anxiety. Then he reminded himself, "I've prepared for this." The exam began. Question after question, Tyler worked steadily. Some sections were challenging, others felt surprisingly manageable. Hours later, he walked out of the gym feeling exhausted, but also proud. Regardless of the result, he knew he had given his best effort. The waiting period felt endless. Weeks passed before the scores were released. One afternoon, students gathered around the notice board where the results had been posted. Tyler's heart pounded as he searched for his name. Then he found it. His eyes widened. He had scored among the highest students in the entire school. For several seconds, he simply stared at the results. It didn't feel real. The average student who once struggled to stay focused had achieved one of the best scores in his class. Soon, teachers began congratulating him. His classmates were impressed. His parents were overjoyed. That evening, his family celebrated with dinner at his favorite restaurant. As they sat together, Tyler reflected on how much had changed. The success hadn't happened overnight. It wasn't the result of talent. It wasn't luck. It was the result of hundreds of small decisions. 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 habit at a time. And while Tyler was proud of his achievement, he didn't realize that this success was only the beginning. Because the exam results would soon open doors he had never imagined. Doors that could completely transform his future. Chapter 8. Opportunities. Open up. A few weeks after the exam results were announced, Tyler began noticing something unusual. People were treating him differently. Teachers who had barely noticed him before now encouraged him to aim higher. Guidance counselors invited him to discuss college opportunities. Even students who had never spoken to him were asking for study tips. For the first time, Tyler felt that new possibilities were opening up around him. One afternoon, he was called to the guidance office. Mrs. Carter, the school counselor, greeted him with a smile. "Tyler, your exam scores were outstanding," she said. "Have you considered applying for academic scholarships?" Tyler was surprised. Scholarships had always seemed like something reserved for exceptional students. Students smarter than him. Students more talented than him. But Mrs. Carter showed him several scholarship programs that matched his achievements. "You've earned these opportunities," she said. Those words stayed with him. Over the following months, Tyler completed scholarship applications, wrote essays, and attended academic workshops. At one of these programs, he met successful university students and professionals who shared their experiences. Listening to their stories inspired him. Many of them came from ordinary backgrounds. What separated them wasn't genius. It was consistency, discipline, and perseverance. The same qualities Tyler had been building. Soon, more opportunities appeared. He was invited to join an advanced leadership program. He participated in academic competitions. He connected with mentors who encouraged him to dream bigger than ever before. One mentor, a successful engineer named David Miller, became especially influential. During one conversation, David asked, "What do you really want for your future?" This time, Tyler had an answer. He wanted to attend a great university. He wanted a meaningful career, and he wanted to prove that ordinary people could achieve extraordinary things through consistent effort. David smiled. Then keep doing what you're doing. Success is rarely one giant leap. It's usually thousands of small steps. Tyler understood exactly what he meant. His journey had started with a single hour. Now that hour was creating opportunities he never thought possible. As graduation approached, letters from universities began arriving. Each envelope represented a new possibility, a new future. And soon, Tyler would discover just how far one simple habit could take him. Chapter 9, the future he once dreamed of. By the time Tyler reached his senior year, he was no longer the average student who spent every afternoon avoiding homework. The transformation had been gradual, so gradual that he hardly noticed it day by day. But when he looked back, the difference was remarkable. His grades were among the best in his class. Teachers trusted him. Younger students asked him for advice, and most importantly, he believed in himself. As graduation approached, Tyler began receiving responses from universities. Every time a new envelope arrived in the mail, his excitement grew. One afternoon, he came home to find 3 letters waiting on the kitchen table. His hands trembled as he opened the first one. Congratulations, he had been accepted. The second letter brought even better news. Not only had he been accepted, but he had also been awarded a partial scholarship. The third letter offered admission to one of the universities he had dreamed about attending. For a moment, Tyler sat silently. Just a few years earlier, he had doubted whether he would even qualify for a good college. Now he had options, real options. When he shared the news with his parents, they were overwhelmed with pride. His mother hugged him tightly. His father smiled and said, "You earned this." And Tyler knew he was right. These opportunities hadn't appeared by chance. They were the result of hundreds of days of consistent effort. 1 hour at a time, one assignment at a time, one decision at a time. At graduation, Tyler stood among the top students in his class. As he walked across the stage to receive his diploma, he remembered the person he used to be. The student who procrastinated, the student who doubted himself, the student who thought success belonged to other people. Now he understood something different. Success wasn't reserved for a select few. It was available to anyone willing to stay consistent long enough. After the ceremony, several younger students approached him. "How did you do it?" one of them asked. Tyler smiled. The answer was much simpler than they expected, and it was a lesson he would carry with him for the rest of his life. As he prepared to leave for university, he reflected on the habit that had started everything. The habit that had transformed not only his grades, but his future. And in the years ahead, he would discover an even deeper truth about the power of 1 hour. Chapter 10, the power of 1 hour. A few months later, Tyler arrived at Stanford University in California. As he walked across the campus on his first day, he felt both excited and nervous. The university was filled with talented students from all over the country. Many had impressive achievements. Some had won national competitions. Others had started businesses or led major projects in high school. For a moment, Tyler wondered if he truly belonged there. Then he remembered something important. The same habit that had helped him succeed in high school could help him succeed anywhere. So he continued doing what had changed his life. 1 focused hour at a time. While many students struggled to manage their schedules, Tyler stayed consistent. Every day he set aside time to study, learn, and improve. The habit that once felt small had become part of who he was. Years passed. Tyler graduated with honors and began a successful career as a software engineer. Later, he became a project manager, leading teams and solving complex problems. People often asked him how he achieved so much. They expected him to reveal a secret strategy or a special talent. Instead, Tyler always shared the same story. He told them about the average student he used to be, the student who wasted time, doubted himself, and dreamed about a better future. Then he told them about the simple decision that changed everything: studying for 1 focused hour every day. Most people were surprised by how ordinary the habit sounded, but Tyler had learned a powerful lesson. Extraordinary results often come from ordinary actions repeated consistently. One evening, years after graduating, Tyler was invited back to Roosevelt High School to speak to students. Standing on the stage where he had once sat as an uncertain teenager, he looked at the audience and smiled. he saw students who reminded him of himself. Students with dreams, students with doubts, students searching for direction. During his speech, he shared the lesson that had transformed his life. Open quote, "You don't have to change your entire life today. You just need to improve a little every day." Close quote. The room was silent. The students listened carefully. Tyler continued. Open quote, "1 hour may not seem important today, but over months and years, that 1 hour can build skills, confidence, opportunities, and a future you never thought possible." Close quote. When the speech ended, the audience applauded. As Tyler left the stage, he felt grateful. Not because he had become successful, but because he had discovered a truth that anyone could use. Success is rarely the result of one big moment. It is usually the result of many small moments repeated consistently. And for Tyler Morgan, everything had started with a simple promise, 1 hour a day. A promise that changed his future forever. Moral of the story: you don't need extraordinary talent to achieve extraordinary results. Small, consistent efforts repeated every day can transform your skills, your confidence, and your future. One focused hour today can become the foundation of tomorrow's success.